Should piracy in Star Citizen be difficult? Should it be next to impossible? How rewarding should it be? These are interesting questions. But I think that there's a more basic thing to address before we get on to that question, which is, in the world of Star Citizen, you live in very unique circumstances as a player. Let me explain it this way. Let's say that you wake up tomorrow morning, you get out of bed, and you receive an email or a text on your phone, and it just says there's $10,000 in an envelope somewhere within a kilometer of your home, so not a great distance. All you have to do is walk, go pick it up, and there you go. There's $10,000 in your pocket. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. Next day, same thing. Every day of the week, year, whatever. That is true. What reason do you have to go to work when that is true? What reason do you have to do just about anything? Now, you might be sitting there and thinking, dude, if I was pulling down $10,000 a day, my life would get pretty interesting pretty quick. Or maybe I'd probably be dead within a year. You know, it varies between people. But in Star Citizen, that is literally true. Every time you log into Star Citizen, you go, you open up, your journal, your quests, your missions, and you see what's available to you. And you receive your license to print money in the game. Now, if you own certain cargo ships, especially, you get to that point where you have that $10,000 waiting in an envelope for you. You just have to go and get it. There it is. And it doesn't take a long time to figure out that in a world that rewards you like that, sure, it's not $1 million a day. It's not going to buy you a private jet overnight, but you can easily see how, you could be living some very interesting life goals very quickly. Just going that way. And in a world where money, it would be that easy for you, what would be your reasons to take risks? If money suddenly became so plentiful, you might actually change your philosophy on a lot of things. You might say, hey, you know what, I want to, if things are going to be this good going forward, I want to maybe take it easy on the drinking or the smoking or whatever. It might change the way you live your life. And this is where we kind of get back to piracy. In a world where it's so easy to make money, where the money literally grows on trees, well, it doesn't literally grow on trees, but pretty near, what is the reason for piracy to exist in a world that is where resources and money are so plentiful? Right? I mean, if you really think about it, that you, as a player, you truly want for nothing. There is nothing that is unattainable by you in the game. Realistically, if someone were to come to you and say, oh, I want to get all the way to an Idris in game, I want to get all the way to a Javelin in game or whatnot, chances are probably one of your best starter ships, truly best starter ships, would probably be something like a Caterpillar or a Hercules. Now, yeah, well, I make just as much money with this ship, and I know. But we're just speaking in generalities here. We're not comparing, There really is nothing that's outside of your reach, and you don't really have to work all that hard for it. And that's one of the interesting problems in Star Citizen, is that, like a lot of MMOs, there's, they kind of create these ideas that grinding is the good thing to do. They're just kind of doing the missions for the guy to get the reputation, to get the thing or whatnot, that this is what you're supposed to be doing in that game. or that this is the most rewarding path forward. And I often find that I do appreciate the defined path to a goal to a certain extent. I also find it to be intensely boring gameplay. But at the same time, I think that if you're kind of sitting there and you're telling the average player, oh, here's the road to riches, to kind of take something from Elite Dangerous. Here's the road to riches. Here's your way to an anaconda day one that you buy the game. Here's how you do it. Or you can go in PvP and maybe get there eventually someday, but it's going to be a vastly more difficult path. Most players will tend to avoid that path. And you kind of want more people to dip their toe in it. You kind of want more people to get involved. And this is where it gets a little sketchy. Because if you want people to truly engage with piracy, right? In this case, we're speaking about stealing cargoes for money to make the big bucks. Those cargoes have got to be worth an exorbitant amount of cash for players to spend the time, get together, organize a team, get everything in place, and then execute that plan and take those risks. It has to be worth that risk. And if you're not giving those rewards, eventually a lot of those players, no matter how dedicated they are, will fade away from it, right? Just because they'll sit there and they'll say, oh, you know what, I do want to pirate, but I want to get up to a Polaris first. I want to get up to an Idris first, or whatever you want to use as your pirate ship. And then they realize that the legitimate path to money is vastly more easy and more rewarding than the PvP version. Why do the PvP in the first place, right? It kind of puts bad habits into players, and I think that it kind of loses the spirit of why the PvP is there. At the same time, if you were to increase the value of the cargo that people were hauling, if you increase it to such amounts as to make it so rewarding, it kind of implies that the people who are hauling cargo are making so much more money doing it that it kind of becomes self-defeating, right? By increasing the rewards for piracy, i.e. the value of stolen cargo, you're also increasing the rewards for legitimate participation in the carrying trade and carrying cargo. The value extracted from piracy, I think, has got to be, there has to be a financial reward, obviously, but I think that the main reward has got to be something that players can't directly purchase in the game. There has to be something acquired through piracy that is difficult, if not impossible, to acquire anywhere else. I would almost say that it can't be something that gives players an in-game advantage over other players. Some people might say, oh, no, that's a thing, but that's what it should be. I kind of feel that isn't the case, because then it almost forces you to kind of go down that road, which is generally not a great thing to do. And we can make another video talking about that, but it would lean heavily into other MMOs to use to get working examples, and that's not really what we're doing here today. But I think it would almost have to be something cosmetic, something unique, beyond the uniforms that you can just loot off of players, because the uniforms that you can loot off of players, you can buy them in stores. So not really that. I think it almost has to be faction rewards from pirate clans or guilds. When you acquire the stolen goods and you deliver them to the pirates, you should build up reward for fencing those goods with the pirates or delivering those goods to the pirates, and then that should enable you to acquire skins for your ship or unique appearance armors. Some really cool stuff that does set you apart, but doesn't really give you a performance advantage over other players, but is still like a mark of honor or prestige for what you've done. That's my opinion on it. Of course, there has to be a financial reward, basically. Otherwise, the entire endeavor is just not viable. You'll go broke engaging in it. And I don't really think it's also a good idea to say, oh, well, I'll just have an alt that runs missions in Empire and makes all this money so that I can keep doing this. No, it has to be self-sustaining. And it has to be profitable in that way. Like, players have to see some kind of forward progress, whether it's acquisition of the big ship that they're after or multiple little ships configured in different ways for different mission profiles, that sort of thing. Obviously that financial reward has got to be there, but I think that the real juice, the real drive, I don't think it can be resident in player power. I think it has to be expressed some way visually, cosmetic, some kind of mark of honor that a player can carry that kind of sets them apart from other players. I think that would be the best way to kind of express this sort of thing. Saying that piracy is supposed to be difficult, obviously, it is going to be that way, but I think that beyond it just being difficult, there has to be some kind of reason behind it beyond just the basic thrill of PvP. There has to be some kind of drive or ambition to it. There has to be a direction, a goal or multiple goals that you can achieve over time. Otherwise, I don't know. To me, it just feels pointless. But I come from an MMO world where it's always very goal oriented. So it could just be my wrong think in this area because I'm thinking of it in terms of a more traditional MMO framework and not simply just a living, breathing universe where you do what you want when you want. Anyways, yeah, some of my thoughts on piracy rewards and difficulty. Probably lean into difficulty a little bit more in a future video, but yeah. That's kind of my broad thoughts on the topic. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching. So if you want to keep up with the latest and greatest in Star Citizen and Squadron 42's development, please follow us on our social media channels. See you soon.